All right, we are on, and I'm going to introduce you. Well, I've got a gentleman? Got a guy to my right here. Morris came by the house and we sat and talked the other day and listened to music and talked about different things. And Morris Stephenson's with me. Morris, will you introduce that young man sitting next to you?
You know, this is Cecil Love, and I'd heard about him all my life since I come to Franklin County, which is almost all my life. And I'd heard of his reputation, and he made some mighty fine brandy.
And admitted to doing it.
But I didn't. I've never had the opportunity to taste any. And one day in the summer of 2011, I'd heard that Cecil Love had been caught by that couple agents. And so I went to him and asked him, and he said, yeah, it was true. First time in his life he'd ever been caught.
I understood that.
Never even gotten a traffic ticket. So I asked him if he would talk to me about that day, so he ended up being the last chapter in my book, A Night of Making Liquor, and I called that chapter The Last Hurrah.
The Last Hurrah.
The final chapter was The Last Hurrah. And since then, Cecil and I have gotten to be great friends. We eat together every morning at the DQ 5 days a week. I back out on Saturday, but he's there. But I've gotten to learn a lot about Cecil and his background, his family, and I just like to talk about Cecil a little bit today. I'm not really get him going and get him started. You were born and raised down the Fort Mountain area, right?
Briar Mountain.
Briar Mountain. I'm
Briar
sorry. Big difference.
Yeah.
Two mountains.
Yeah, you got one to the other.
Yeah.
But tell Dick about your family and how many were in the family and where. You lived in a two-story frame house. It's
With what could call it upstairs and all that. We grew up in that country. There's 14 in my family, 12 kids, and my mother and dad. And one of them died little, which I never remember her. But anyway, we grew up tough. We had nothing, no electricity, no stores. I went to a little country store 4 miles. We didn't come to town. And we had to survive with what we had in the mountain country. I mean, you know, we had friends that lived next door, neighbors. They had nothing, but what they had, they divided. Which, you know, we had a little country school.
How far was the school away?
Probably 3 miles from our house. And then some of the other kids, neighbors, friends that were 3 miles or 4, and everybody had to walk to school.
Oh, you didn't have a school bus? Huh?
No school bus.
No school bus.
So I never will get Mr. Shoemate. When I first went to school, the old teacher was sitting there, and she lived not far from us. She was teaching school for $50 per month. We had no water in the school. We had to tote it from the spring. We had to bring wood into the school. A little 2-room school. Well, she taught 7th grade in that school. So I had a brother that was there, and a neighbor, second cousin lived out of Holland, and 2 neighbors of them. So they were 3 years older than me. But they had to leave here in World War II. All 4 of them boys, my brother, my second cousin, and 2 neighbors. They all got killed in World War II out of that one little school. So anyway, it was kind of a shock to the people, my mother and all of them, never got over it. They didn't get over it, the neighbors didn't either. But anyway, the old teacher took my hand and she laid it out. She was a good friend of ours. She said, lay your hand down. I thought you were going to hit me with that ruler, She said, no, I'm going to learn you 6 things in my school. Said, you'll probably never get nothing else. Said, the main thing is put your trust in the Lord. The next is reading, arithmetic, writing, spelling, and respect. Said, if you use them 6 items, you'll make it. That's all of I had.
All right, now you tell me those 6 again.
Number 1, put your trust in the Lord. That's number 1.
Right.
Next is reading, writing, arithmetic, and spelling, and respect. That's number 6, Or if you use them words, you're going to have to use them every day in your life, and that's all that I had. I've respected people. I treat them fairly. I tried to help them, and that's all of I had. I learned it from her.
But
So-
she was a good teacher.
She taught you them items. She said you'll probably never go to college, a high school, 'cause she could see it. You wouldn't much chance of it, you know. And I had some of the young ones, brother of mine and sister, they got to go to school, high school or whatever, but we didn't. But we learned.
How far was it from your house to to Rocky Mount? That's where you had to go to school after the 7th grade, right?
If you got to school,
Yeah. You
well,
made,
you couldn't go. It's probably 10 miles to Rocky Mountain.
and you didn't have any transportation.
No
at all?
transportation. You didn't have no running water in your house. You didn't have heated water. You had to heat it on tubs or buckets or whatever. It'd be so cold in the house, in the wintertime, water buckets freeze. You'd have to thaw the water out. And we had an old man with my Uncle Dick. I'm going to call you Dick.
Sure.
And he was my uncle.
I call you Cecil?
Yeah. he was my dad's uncle, but we called him Uncle too. Now, he was the head man of Briar Mountain. He was what they called it, like Andy Griffin. He was a constable. He was a squire. He was a judge.
Mayor.
He was everything.
All right.
And then he preached. Well, he when I remember him very little, but when he went in his court, he tried you in a little building, wooden building. He tried you in his court. Then, if he preached to you, he put his robe on, a black hat, and a bow tie. And I was scared of him. I thought it was some kind of saint that's come from Christ. You know, when he come out of the field with that on. I'd been used to him with a bib overall, pants on the field, and he come out there. I thought it was somebody the good Lord had sent. So he scared us to death anyway.
But you're going to be you're going to have to be good.
You had to be good when he laid the law down to you, and he'd tell you. He said, "Now listen." He said, "I know y'all go to the little stores. Said you see a lot of candy up in there. You can't buy it 'cause you got no money." He said, "You always, I can't guarantee when it will come, but he said in years to come, y'all may never see it, but you will be where you can see a man talking to you somewhere on the screen." And he imagined TV coming along, you know, or some.
And here we are.
Yeah. Now he could see that far ahead of him. He said,
That's amazing.
He said, "I know y'all would like to have that candy." He said, "You sit up in the store and you can't buy it." He said, "One day you'll get to the point, if a good Lord lets you stay here, you can get all the candy you want."
I can remember walking by a store and looking in the window and seeing and thinking and just shaking my head saying, boy, wouldn't I like to, you know.
And
Like to
one
get that
penny
candy.
would buy
Yep.
a lot.
But now,
Oh but a penny would get you something.
oh yeah, 3 pennies a penny. Now you know, if you see a penny, you just sweep it away 'cause it won't buy nothing. But we listened to people, Mr. Shoemate. We listened to we had a old black man moved in blowers out of West Virginia. And he married a lady blower, and they never married, but he got him a little horse and a wagon, a cow and chicken. And we would always buy him and speak to him. You know, he'd talk to us, and he was a kind of a preacher. And he'd say, "Boys, if y'all want to preach down him a little preacher hole, we'd go down a little preaching poles." And he'd always have a little prayer. He said, "Now I'm going to have you a little prayer, so whenever you want to go down and get drowned, you know." But we listened to people. It didn't make no difference. We listened to whatever they told us.
Your life was different then.
And my grandmother on my mother's side, she was a strong churchgoer, you know, and she laid the law down to it. I said, I never got Dick in a church. I went to churches and we'd have to walk to them, but I always believed in, my grandmother always said, if you want to have a prayer, you have it anywhere you want it. If you cutting wood or you sitting in a chair, have your prayer. And that's what I've always done.
Tell them about the prayer the day that the agents came to visit.
Well, that's what I was going to get around. When I was,
All right. Now, wait. The day the agents came to visit.
yeah,
Now, these are the friendly agents.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Well, Dick, I wasn't going to. I'd got it over with my life. I knew I'd fooled with it for over the years, but we had to survive in the country. We had no money, and we'd go out there and make $50 or $20 toting wood to the whiskey still or whatever. And that was a lot of money. We couldn't make 50 cents a day dropping fertilizer. Pick blackberries 20 cents a gallon. And that changed our life. I said, when I go out there and work 30 minutes for a man, he gives me $20, you know where I was going to be the next day. But anyway, I went out of that morning, and my mother's always curious on us about making the brandy or whatever. She didn't want us to do it. My dad would tell us, he said, y'all, if you're going to do it now, he said, I don't want you in it, but if you're going to do it, you do it right. You don't go out there and do something wrong. But anyway, I went there that morning.
Excuse me, let me ask you a question. Do it right.
Do it right.
Now that means, what does that mean?
That meant if you was going to have brandy or whiskey or whatever you're doing, if you was going to work in a garden, you done it right. You didn't go just throw it out. You done it. Everything you did, do it right.
Okay.
But I went out of that morning, and as long as 1st of June, I had these little apples. I didn't herd them, and from some fellows, they wanted me to take them and make it. And wife, she raised a racket. I said, well, I'm going to do this experimental. I'm going to aim to make the best ever come out of the country.
You're going to experiment.
Yeah, I was going to make the best. It's just like your wife years ago, your first wife or your wife cook. They want to get a better meal every time they cook. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting there and had my legs sitting on a little stool. I can't walk halfway, and have a little burner going. The squirrel was up on the limbs, and deer was playing in the wood, and the old bear had been there. He'd come see me every day. And he'd done left, and I looked up and I said, I asked the good Lord, I said, if I'm doing wrong, please put a stop to it. But the man said, put your damn hand up over your head and don't you run. I said, the good Lord acted too quick on me there.
Next time you're not going to ask him.
Well, a lot of people ask me, Dick, about that sentence. Said, do you believe that? I said, well, I was sitting there and I asked the good Lord in an honest way if I was doing wrong to put a stop to it. And that's when they said, put your hand up, don't you run. I said, all I can do is, I'd ask for it, but I wish now that I'd have waited till that afternoon, had it on, could have got me a gallon.
You'd have picked a better time.
I'd have got me, but anyway.
Do it in the evening after you got rid of everything.
Well, I could got me a jar to it, but you know, we grew up believing in everything we said around people, mind your age back then. Kids won't listen to us today like we did. If you learned something from your uncle, your granddad, listen to them talk, and you remember it. Till like going to service. I went in service in 1953 or 52 and got shot up in Korea, and I'm crippled up. I can't half walk. I always believed in my generals, my colonels, my captains. That's what they told you, that's what I did. Mm-hmm. And now you got them to go in service, they don't trust nobody, they don't believe nobody. And you know, a lot of kids don't ever call them grandpa, uncle, or aunt, they just walk by, and that world has changed. Me and you grew up, we didn't do that away. And I know you got grandkids, you try to teach them the way you would teach, but sometime they say, well, Papa said this, Papa said, but they gone, they forget about you then.
But I like the young grand. I got grands and great grands, and the younger they are, the more they listen to me.
Well, I tell them, Dick, I don't care if you're in court, like I went to court on my deal, but Bill Alexander, he said, you're the only man ever come to my court that's tried himself to be a, you know. I said, well, Bill, I said, I wasn't guilty of not manufacturing. I've got education doing manufacturing from misdemeanor. So made a deal with the Commonwealth that I would accept what I would accept in the court. So they wrote it down, and all Bill did wrote it off. Jay Morrison, then when he read it, wrote it off. And Bill said, you sharper than most of the lawyers in town. Said, you tried yourself. Said, I didn't have to do that to read it off.
Well, Jim Jefferson told Judge Alexander that he'd never, ever represented a person that had never even had a traffic ticket. And Cecil had never gotten caught hauling or anything else. I mean, you know, perfect record. And that's really unusual.
And I got crippled up. I received a Purple Heart, good conduct and honorable, and I don't claim to be no better than nobody else. I try to help everybody. I had a brother killed in there.
What year were you in the service?
1952 to 54.
I went in 56.
I ended up in North Korea, right up in the mountains. Got shot up by a dick laid. Everybody asked me over the VA, they said, you ever thought about committing suicide? I said, I did one time. They said, when was that? I said in January of 1952, I got shot up in that country. It's 40 below zero, 30 and 40. I mean, froze. And I laid over the mountainside. You don't call them a gun or rifle, you call them a weapon, you know. My weapon had slid down the mountain. My medics couldn't get to me. And all of them was under fire. The firefighters like lightning strikes. And I was laying there, and I knew I was going to die a death that I didn't want. That would be freezing, either be captured. And I said, no, I would have committed suicide if I could got my weapon. But they said, well, how did you get out? I said, by the good Lord. I said, he got a medic in there and got me out. Mm-hmm. So I fell down my basement a couple of years ago, and I didn't get killed. They said, what happened there? I said, he picked me up again. I said, now the next time maybe a broom straw I fall over, he won't let me go no farther. So,
well, that's two times. You get three of them.
I got my belief, Dick, how we can go through things, and then you get this hurt real bad and you leave this world. He's got a day set for us. It don't matter how we do.
Yeah.
And when you go to the best doctor in the world, but that day he's got it set for you,
when the day is set and it comes to you, then
that's it.
That's it. Yes, sir.
I want him to tell you about his bear that he had down at the steel place.
I was listening to the talk about a bear. You get visited regular by bears?
That's a funny thing, Dick. I had an older brother lived at home place. He never married, never left home. He left home too, but he never had drove a car. He had a new truck and bought for a brother of mine to come down, doctors around. And he lived there by himself after my mother died. And he'd try to get in. I'd bring him carrying food over, and he'd say, I want to cook me some bacon. So he'd go in the kitchen and cook his bacon. The bar smelled the bacon through the door. And he got where he'd crack the door and put some bar. He'd put fried bacon in a little pan for the bar to eat. So I told him one day.
Good grief.
So I told him one day.
Is that a guest he invited to the house?
Yeah.
All right.
And so I told him, I said, his name was Walter, and they'd catch him ABC men. They'd treat him, they'd say, the honest man they ever seen. So they hated to do anything with him, but they had to violate the law, you know. But anyway, the old bar would come in. One day I went there, and he was going out the door of the bar, going around the house, and I said, what are you going to do if that bar comes up in the house one of these days? He said, I'm going to get in bed and let him have a house. But after he died, that bar learned me. He learned my truck. I could drive down the old home place. My always tell you got to make a long gravel road, partly paved, and come back in the house. And I look back at my mirror on the truck going down, and he would be behind my truck, wobble, wobble, wobble. So I'd get out of my truck, go to my little place where I was going to make my brandy, sitting there. And I'd hear a little racket, look around, he'd be standing there about 30 feet from me, looking at me, and I'd talk to her. So I would put him out a buying of sausage. He liked that, and I'd put him out of apples, and of course he done eat part of my apples before, but anyway.
Tell him what happened when he ate your apples.
Well, I'm saying he's making friends with him because you're feeding him.
I feed him, and when he got
it's like bringing home somebody's pet stray dog, bear.
I would talk to him. I said, now listen, you just get on, I need bad here down and go through the woods. Well, I went there one morning, and I heard a racket down the woods, and that was before this time, but I heard a racket and go, ooh, ooh. I looked down the old bar where he was standing down in the woods, and I told that boy of mine, I said, I don't know if a bear was drunk or either had a stomach ache, but he didn't either have a bar of my apple to show it. Anyway, he was there the same morning the ABC men came in on me, but he had been there about 20 minutes before they came.
Did he help you?
If he had been up there where he was at, and they were to holler me, it ain't no doubt that he would have sailed on them.
I was going to say, where is he when you needed him?
Well, he done went through the woods, and they put off these big explosions. They blew the place up, you know, just wham.
Yeah.
And I didn't see him I'd go over to our home place, drive down, and I didn't see him for about a month. I told the boy, man, I believe he killed the old boy. He left one. So I feel like he stayed gone for a while, but he's back now. I go over and he'll be right there, have come up the road.
Do tell.
Yeah, he's back.
And you recognize him.
He'll look at me, and we'll check my old truck out. I'm kind of like old Grizzly Adam on TV. I make a friend with anything.
All right, nothing wrong with that.
I mean, you talk to him, you know.
it's good to have a friend, whether it's animal or vegetable or human or what it is.
Well, it's like I tell them, Dick, it's I knew you when you're in the bank, and I knew you, and you talk to people. In other words, you get up in the morning, you don't, maybe you got disgusted, you don't feel really good, but if you get to talking to people, you forget about yourself.
Yep.
And a lot of people say, why you talk to people? I said, try to make them feel better. You know this.
Yep. Yeah.
If I get,
I would do that in the bank. You're right.
That's
You
right.
nailed me. Because I would say, I talked to him in the bank. We'd sit and talk.
talk.
That's important, the contact, people.
People don't do that anymore.
No.
Not like they did.
That you don't have time today. The fact is, you do have time, and if you don't take that time, you're going to miss it.
That's what
And you're missing something important.
That's what my mother always said, because kind of like the preacher said, he's going up to Providence Church. And he's an old-timer preacher, but one day he was telling me about, he said, well, I come out of church this morning. He said, I seen a lady across the street. He lived in Balmore or Bassett. Said she was waving. He said, that's nice, that woman waving me this morning. And he got close to her and said, he looked at her and she was smiling. He said, lady, I'm glad that you waving, smiling at me. She said, I wasn't waving you, I was waving my sister.
So, too bad he brought it up, because he would have still thought she was waving at him.
She ruined his day, didn't she?
Oh, my goodness.
But
Living out in the country, living there, you enjoyed it.
Well, I tell them, Dick, we never we had food, we had beans, cornbread, salad, what my dad raised 6 or 7 hogs, and we had butter and milk and eggs, but far as, today, we could make it, but we lived out of the woods. Now, we knew everything in the woods you could eat. I don't care if it's a cherry, a plum, an apple, an apricot, a pawpaw, different things in the woods that we were taught you could eat. And we never would have hungry. If we'd been in the woods hungry, we'd find some kind of vine we could eat on or some kind of berry we could eat. But kids don't know what's out in the woods today.
No, you're right.
Now, we had one bush we was always told, and it's a bush at our home right today. It had a little black berry on it. They called it a hall bush.
Yep.
Now, you didn't eat that.
That's right.
You remember that, don't you?
Yes, I do.
I went to his.
You'd act right strange if you did.
That's right.
I went to his family reunion last fall, and it's the house that 13 kids grew up in, or 13 in the family.
14.
14. It's just
Well,
like it was.
One did grow up because she died when she was little. She's the oldest one.
But they, it's just like it was. And there's pure stream of water comes down rolling off the mountain, and they got it going under the driveway. And it goes on a little ways, and then it turns about 45 degrees and goes down the holler. The holler is where they called Cecil.
Well, it's old mountain water, Dick. There's nothing in it. I mean, no animals, no nothing. It comes out of the mountain. Mm-hmm. And my dad, he didn't want us in it. But he said, the boys, if you're going to make it, he said, if you're going to make it, don't go out here. You don't make it but twice a year. That's when the leaves is coming out, when the leaves is falling. And I asked him, I said, why is it? Do you want to? He said, your water gets a lot better because them leaves and some gets in the water and makes it better. So you make better whiskey. So they had a ruling.
Is that true?
That's true. The water changes when you spring the air with the buds coming out on trees. Mm-hmm. When the leaves start falling, the sap's going down, the water gets better. It's got a cooler, smoother taste,
I didn't know.
I mean, them old people, they had their remedy. Kind of like my dad said, the people had their old sign planting, your potatoes were planting the sign. Mm-hmm. And one fella come to and he said, my dad was named Emmett. He said, Emmett, what are you doing planting them potatoes down there? He said, I'm planting them. He said, I don't plant mine. I said, it's the wrong time. Said, I plant mine in the sun. My dad looked up and said, I plant mine in the ground. So that's the way they operated,
My granddaddy would do that. He had something going, and people would come and look at the tomatoes and look at the potato. And he was a pharmacist. He worked in a drugstore.
Yeah.
And
Really?
he was brilliant. He was the last man that I knew. My granddaddy was the last man that would not get prescriptions from a factory. He made every medicine in that drugstore that people needed.
Wow.
And he'd come in this little drugstore, and he would, my middle name is Avery, Richard Avery Shoemaker. And his name was Neil Avery, and they'd come in and ask Mr. Avery, "This is my problem." And he'd fix him some salve, or he'd fix him something to take.
And he was a doctor that had the
My
remedy.
goodness. And I'll tell you, I drank some of the stuff that he fixed, and I never again complained about being sick. Now,
Cure
see,
you or
there
kill
was a
you.
technique there, you know, that stuff tasted horrible, but I was better. It took care of it. Throat.
I remember a dark black draught or something. My grandmother gave me, and I thought, whoa.
Oh, it would. When you come to drinking that, you had to swallow hard because it was, you know, it didn't go down if you didn't swallow.
Right,
If you
now
right
stop,
here, it would stop.
Yeah.
So you'd have to swallow.
I'd hold my nose to see if I could.
Somebody'd be sitting there. I said swallow, and I said I'm going to die. She said you better swallow or you will die. So go ahead.
But anyway, we grew up in the country. We never knew what a Dr. Cobb was, the old doctor, Dr. Booth. But they didn't come to the mountain unless it was desperate. But my mother always had remedies they used, and you might get your toe cut or hand cut or something other. And bring you come in. Well, he cut his fingernail off. She'd grab a bunch of soot out of the old wood stove, put on with a little bit of something on, wrap it up with a rag, and next day you didn't know it was a cut. I mean, you remember them days, don't you?
It worked.
Yeah, it worked.
That was, you know, it's funny. I don't know anybody else that knows about that because, you know, I was raised in the North. I was raised at what's now the big city. But this grandfather of mine, my mother's father, he could make anything to make you better.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And the worse it tasted, the better it was.
Better it was.
And there were people like Woodsy Jones for years and years down Doe Run had the store.
Mm-hmm.
And he had, one time he said, "I'd like for you to come down and write all the remedies that I know about." And he could take a fire out. And there was a little girl that worked out at Hardy. She burned her arm real bad. And I called Mr. Woodsy, and he said, "Yeah, let me talk to her on the phone." And they asked her name, and she said, told her name, and Tanya Shibley, I'll never forget. Her arm was really badly burned by hot grease. And she said, "All right." And I said, "What'd he say?" And he said, "I'm going to take the fire out, and if you don't feel better, call me back." And she was waiting on a prescription up at Revco, next to the theater, where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And she got up and left and never went to Revco.
She felt
And got
better.
never got any pain medicine, and it never scarred her arm.
It would seem to me the worse it smelled, the worse it tasted, the darker in color it was,
The better it worked. Better it worked.
I went.
I haven't had that. I don't know anybody else.
Kids back in the days, kids or baby would have what they call a croup.
Croup.
Now, over where we grew up in the mountain, there was another house over Holiday. They had a spring branch that came to spring. They had a vine that growed up and down there. They had planted. They called them calamus. And we'd have a kid, Mama would have a little one there, be coughing, couldn't breathe or something. She'd say, "Go get some of that vine and bring it back." And we'd go and dig a stalk of that, and she'd come back and chop it in little slices and let it dry, and then put a needle and sew thread and hang around the cake neck and have a cure of the croup.
Wow.
That was calamus.
Calamus,
But anyway, we had what they call slick amarillo trees. They'd get the bark and cut it off, and they said, "Don't cut around that tree now. Just cut a little over here, because we don't want that tree to die." And everybody used that tree to have a little boiling medicine off of it. But I don't know. We always enjoyed life, and we knew we were going to get better every day, and every year went by, we got a little better. Now we got the end of the road. We can't.
You're slow, but you're still here.
We still happy.
Sure.
I mean, I get out here, I don't have no money, Dick. I see kids who got cancer, they come at Dairy Queen and come in with one with a little boy coming that had leukemia or something. He was sitting over there when they had eating. I went over and I gave him $10 or whatever I give him. And one man was sitting over and he said, "What'd you give that boy $10 for?" I said, "Well, I give it to him because the little fella got cancer. But when I give him $10, he'd pep up and eat. Now he's back in good shape, done 15 years old, and he never misses a day when he come and he don't come shake my hand." So that's the way of life was. I always figure if I give you $1 and you didn't have it, that's better than nothing. The first quarter I got dicked, my uncle lived in Roanoke, worked the railroad, and he'd come over and have a little change. He gave me a quarter. And he gave the rest of the kids some dime, a quarter. Well, all of them about the same. And I went down the bottom. We had a bottom, they called a bottom full of left diesel. Hey, you hadn't cut it in it for a year. And I lost my quarter. And playing down there, lost it. And I knew where I lost, but I couldn't find it. And I stuck me a stick in the ground. I went to my house and stole my mother's matches. Some of her wooden matches. I went back and set the hay up. I was going to find it, but the hay got it. I couldn't get the fire put it. It got out. Oh, my dad and them come down. We got to put. I got to switch it. Cause I set the hay, burned a pretty good patch of it. But I found my little black quarter anyway. I wasn't gonna lose that quarter now.
When you were about to get something like that, you had to make a decision. Am I going to go home, or am I going? You know, but you figure you had to go home eventually.
Oh, you had to get in.
And my mother didn't forget. So if I came home right away, or I came home in an hour, or I came home in 3 hours.
She hadn't forgot it.
No, but I pretty well, I figured, well, it's got calm.
Yeah.
I'll come by, and I walk through the door, bap, and she'd say, "Thought you were going to get that one by me." I said, "No, I knew better."
No, it's a lot
It's
of
interesting.
things. A lot of things happened in that mountain that I didn't see. But what the people would tell me, my dad would tell about people. But most of what I tell is what I seen, you know.
Tell him about how many stills were down in those mountains and how you could look across them.
Well, in the little area we grew up, it's kind of a valley back there. It's about 40 families lived in that area. They were down.
What part of the county?
It's west of Sydneysville, up in
Sydneysville?
It's in Franklin County, but it's west of Sydneysville, up in what they call the Goose Dam area.
Right.
That's where all my uncles lived, one side, the other, back of kin people, neighbors, and you get up sometime the fall of the year. They didn't do a lot of making in this, all the time. They was farmers. They had a little few cattle and cut hay or wheat and made rye. But anyway, you go up to where our cemetery up on the mountain now, you can look back at the towers up on Sydneysville Mountain. It's like Indian signals. Little puffs of smoke coming up out of every hollow. They had them little distilleries firing them up back there, They made it for the lawyers and doctors and.
What kind of wood did they use? You told me once and I've forgotten.
Well, they mostly tried to use
To keep the smoke,
They tried to use
down?
tried to use a good chestnut oak or hickory one. Neither one of them smoked, but they
Was
used
it dry wood or wasn't
Well,
fresh?
good chestnut oak got that heavy bark. Once you get that thing going, it'll burn it. But some of this old lumber won't burn. We call pissane oak. You can't burn that. They call it, it's a stinking oak.
Yep.
You can't burn that in your stove. It stinks so bad.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had a lot of fun. We had tough lives and.
Simple.
Well, we have homecoming to my grandmother's, and we never knew nothing about having peanut butter and crackers when we grew up. One lady lived next door. She was kin. Her sister went to mall, went to work, and brought her peanut butter and crackers, and she'd be eating it like we're looking at it. We'd try to trade her a ham biscuit or something for a peanut butter cracker. But my grandmother.
Was that a fair deal?
Huh?
Ham biscuit for a peanut butter cracker?
Yeah.
That was a good deal.
But we wanted that peanut butter. We didn't have it. And my dad named it, instead of light bread, he named it wind bread. He didn't call it light bread, it said wind bread.
Wind bread.
And but anyway, my grandmother had homecomings, and we got to go in there. My aunts lived in Roanoke. They'd make big old containers of cracker peanut butter. I mean, it'd be a platter of them, We thought you're supposed to take them, eat them, not chew them. When we get choked out, run to spray and go to wash the peanut butter down.
You got to be careful of that.
That's right.
What happened that day that that your uncle came down there at Christmas time with the candy.
Oh, I had my uncle on the other side. He had never married, but he's always kind of a clown. But he sawmilled and made money, but he'd get on a drinking spell, you know. And we had a big old chimney built out of rocks and mud. It's still and everybody.
Beautiful chimney. Oh, wow.
And every Christmas, well, when the TV people came out of New York, made a film of me the other year, they liked that chimney.
All right.
And wanted to know how it's built. I said, well, them old people built it. I wasn't here when they built it. It's building.
One block at a time.
These are rock, field
Yes,
rock.
yes.
Beautiful.
You couldn't use a flint rock. You
Yeah,
had to be a black rock or something. But anyway, I said, you don't love that chimney as good as I do. And that man asked, said, what is that? I said, well, Santa Claus came at Christmas time. And he had an old suit on. It'd be a neighbor. But my uncle was with him, had an old stick with him, you know, and my uncle would always bring a big bag of old-timey Christmas candy, you know, at loose Christmas.
Yep.
And he wouldn't give it to us. Be snow by the knee deep, and the old man was going to climb the chimney. My uncle beating with his stick like he's beating him, you know, and we'd go to crying. Then my uncle would take that whole bag of candy, throw it like feeding chickens. We're diving for that candy down there. So
Looking for the candy in the snow.
yeah, that was great Christmas times then, you know. We had the old Christmas trees set up with popcorn on them and little old aluminum light. We didn't have no electricity, but a little aluminum top in them and whatever. And it smelled like Christmas. You know, it had a different odor to Christmas.
That's something I hadn't thought of, but you're right.
Yeah.
It's so much now is artificial.
Yeah.
And not real, but the smell.
You had that.
Well, that's just like a good cook.
Yeah.
A good cook
It's got that smell.
got that smell.
The Christmas
when-
tree in the room with the
I come in the
fresh
house.
smell.
I'd come in the house and I can smell. I can smell today when when Dee is cooking something good. I can walk in.
You got the odor.
I can head to. I'll head to the table.
Yeah.
She says not ready. I said I'm waiting.
I'm ready.
So that-
But it smells good. It's half of it, if not more, is in just smelling it as well as eating it.
Well, that's kind of like Dick at the old country stores when you grew up. If you had one close by you, when it had a smell of a different, you
Yeah.
know, you smell that candy, you could smell
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
We always had a cedar Christmas tree.
Okay.
Well,
I
we
love the smell of cedar.
that
we
is a
had
good
cedar,
one.
we'd go and get that what they call running ground cedar. You know, it grows through the wood. It's
Yeah.
a ground cedar. Wrap that around the tree and put a little mistletoe up and go to get your little holly bush. And we had great times. And we may get one apple and one orange for Christmas.
Yeah.
One apple, one
I
orange.
got switches and ashes one year.
Ah. I know you. I know you, and I would suggest that was probably overdue.
It probably was. I kept saying this isn't going to
Now,
happen.
when you get ready to quit, you just holler, we done.
I said this is. I said this isn't going to happen. And I got up that morning and walked up to the chimney and
Yeah.
where the stockings were hung.
Yeah.
I saw these wild cherry limbs sticking up, and I dumped it, and there was the cinders and the ashes in the rest of the stockings.
You learn.
Learn quickly.
I would go get a bowl. There's a little store, and I could get ice cream, and they called it a frap. F-R-A-P-P-E, like
Yeah.
a French word.
Yeah.
And it was a bowl of ice cream, and that's all it was. And
How much-
they didn't put anything on it. He said, "You want a frap?" Because somebody had told him about that, and he decided he was going to be fancy. Mm-hmm. He was a man. When I was 12, 13, 14 years old, he had to be 120.
Yeah,
I mean, he was an old man, but he would dish that up, and there was no cost to it to speak of.
oh, really?
Yeah. And I could sit there, but then I owed him something,
Right.
and I would clean up, pick up, do something. Good life, you say?
Well, I look back, Dick, I tell them if I had to probably go back and live my life over, I'd probably go back the same road. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
some people would you change. I said, well, there might be a few things, but then you'd say, no, I just worked out this right. So we still, it ain't but 5 of us left out of 11 of the kids. And all of us giving out. I tell them I'm 87. I got a sister, she's 89, and eventually it's gonna take us all.
Mm-hmm.
And we got no choice. I mean, you know, we got a choice of what we do today.
Yep.
But I mean, you might go, me and Mars might go off the road this morning. The good Lord said, no, y'all ain't going home. You're going to going to my home. If he's going to take us, he's going to take us.
Yep, that's a fact.
Cecil and I came down this morning, of course, Victor sitting in the back seat, and he had checked Cecil out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he liked Cecil, so he just flopped down the back seat. That's
So
where
he said that fella's okay. And
Yeah,
I'll
he
just
said
lie
he's
down
a
and
good
put-
guy. I'm just going to lay
But
back here.
Mars was a little reckless driving when he come around the corner and he woke him up, or he had to get up. He said, well, he's going to wreck us anyway.
Well, he works hard to keep Mars straight.
Oh, yeah. It takes
And
a
I
lot.
keep him on his toes so he doesn't sleep too much.
Interesting. I do appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
It's good to see. Yeah, you used to come to the bank.
Oh, yeah. I used to come up, speak to you and talk to you.
Yep.
But anyway, we used to deal in that old people from the National Bank and some uptown when Noah Whitlow and them was up there. Because we didn't have a lot of money, but when I bought the little place that I own today, it was 5 acres, $10,000 in a house. Mr. Noel, I went to see him. I had a little money. I just come back out of service, and I had enough to pay about a half of it. He says, yeah, I'll let you have my money, but you're going to put your nose to grindstone. I said, what's that? He said, $110 a month payment. I said, I think we can pay it. But anyway, I'd get a
How'd
little
you like to have a payment of anybody have a house payment?
I'd get a little money ahead, Mr. Shoemaker, and I'd go in there, you know, make 2 or 3 payments. And he'd say, he grew up in the mountain next to us. He said, you ain't supposed to do that. I said, Mr. Noel, I'll leave it in you if you want to add it, don't you, and add it later. And that's where I paid him. I started to tell you about my mother and dad bought the little place Ma he's talking about. They had no money. And the old man had come out of West Virginia and built an old house. And his wife didn't want to live here. And he come to my dad, 90 acres of land, a new house, told my dad he'd sell it to him for $300.
390 acres?
And they didn't have no money. He was living with his mother. They just got married. Well, he said, I'll let you know. And old man Jim Love, that was his kin people, but he went back to West Virginia. But anyway, my dad went to see old man down below us. He loaned money. This been people had money, you know, years ago. And he went to see the old man. He asked about getting $300. Yeah, I'll let you have it. If you get 10 people to sign a note, 10 people. And
Can you imagine digging up 10?
Anyway, 1% interest, 1%. So my dad came back and with old man John Luke and old man Will Love and old man Mars Kirk. I don't know how many of them, all of them signed a note. That is 10 people. But anyway, Lyde Ramsden and Hubbard Ramsden and my mother, which I knew them later years before they died, when me and Lyde's boy was in service together. But anyway, they came and wanted my dad to fill them 2 barrels of whiskey, corn whiskey, fill 2 wooden barrels, and they would give them $1,000 for the 2 barrels.
How big were the barrels?
50-gallon barrel.
50 gallon barrels.
That's 100 gallons.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And anyway, he told them, all right. So they brought the grain on 2 T-model trucks. And my mother said she never made no whiskey in life. She hoped him pour the hot water because he couldn't do it by himself. And she asked the good Lord to please forgive her. That's all she ever done.
Forgive her for pouring.
Yeah. But anyway, when they come back, they brought the money. They got the whiskey and paid the money. She said to cover the whole floor. It's about big as any other living room. Said the floor was covered with money. Nothing much bigger than $10. Most of them ones at 5. Anyway, my dad.
And they gave him how much?
Huh?
How much did he pay him?
$1,000.
$500 for a barrel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
$10 a gallon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it went down to the old man loaned him money, and he wanted to pay it off. That few days, they hadn't had the money about a month or something. And told the man, I'm gonna pay my note off. He said, my dad was naming him, and he said, Emmett, where did you get that money? He said, I can't tell you. And they kept on, and they paid the old man, and he finally accepted him. He gave him a $10 tip on the money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
He said, he kept on, he said, Mr. Lovell said, why do you want to know where I got that money? He said, because I want to get in that business myself. Make $300 that length of time. So that's the way I mean, all that is,
Yep.
now that was told my mother and dad, and I believe it told me the truth. Now, you go down the road this morning, a man walk up to you, and he, Mr. Shoemaker, I heard something happen down the road. Well, you don't know what to believe him now because he didn't see it.
Yep.
But if you see something go down the road and you tell me and I believe it, and if I tell you something you believe, now something we don't believe.
Well, it's been a while since I've been a banker now, but back a number of years, a person's word was all you needed.
That's all you needed.
A handshake.
And you had to have them sign a piece of paper because there were rules.
That's right.
But you could trust, and it's a way of life. And that's not to say that there aren't trustworthy people now. There's good people now, and everybody.
But everybody
got
to be treated the same.
But it was just, there was a comfort level with it back then. I appreciate you coming in this morning, Cecil.
Yeah. Well, me and Steve, Steve married my wife's sister.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of a family thing.
Really? I didn't know that.
I kind of rate you as my family. I mean, because you're involved in the bank. You came by years ago when we were dealing with the bank, and
Yep.
you deal with Steve and him. And I said, no. I said, anytime that we ever get together at our home place, neighbors, friends, welcome. I try to get Steve and Lois, tell them come on over. They always busy. They ain't got time. So.
You're always welcome.
Well, that's what I say. Some people say, well, I stayed long enough, I don't want to welcome. So that's about the way me and Marv, we don't welcome.
We have.
I am
Been a
glad
pleasure.
that you came in this morning.
Well, what I told you, Mr. Shoemaker, is what I seen, or not what I heard, is what my dad, cause my dad, I believed in him. My mother, she told me something we believed in. Like me and you in service, when that man give you your service number, you believed it and you still remember it.
I get 512-6303.
Mine, you is 5213502.
Wow.
So you don't remember them. You don't forget them numbers. It's like if your dad.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
absolutely right. Let me tell you one more thing. When I joined, I was in the Navy.
Yeah.
55, 56. When I joined, I went in and they said, this is your number. And he wrote 97F and put it on the back of my hand. And I said, what do I get that off? He said, maybe never.
Yeah.
And I was 17, 18 years old. And I said, why'd you write that on there? Because you're too dumb to remember your name. And I said, so my name is now 97F? And they just thought it was the funniest thing in the world, but this was an old bosun, that'd been I was in the Navy, and he was an old bosun. But I learned a lot.
What was 97F for?
That was a processing number.
Okay.
That was before I got my actual service number. They said, you're too dumb to remember that many numbers, so I'm going to give you an easy one, 97F. And so, it's just amazing.
Anytime you need us to come back, if you need something, then let us know.
You got it.
Yeah.
It was a
Morris,
pleasure.
thank you.
Enjoyed
Good.
it.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, sir. Good
My
to
pleasure.
see you.
See you,
Cecil,
Dick.
nice to see
I
you again.
ain't going to call him Mister. I used to when at the bank because I needed something called him Mister.
You can call it just Dick.
I'd like Mr. Charlie Davis. He was a banker for
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
And Mr. Charlie Davis, I seen a man. I came back out of service. I gambled a little bit. And man, I would let him have some money or something or other, and he'd write me a check. Right on the paper bag. Now, paper post bag. And he said, take it up to Charlie Davis, he'll cash it. And he was Cam Perdue, the Commissioner of Revenue. Carried in that, and Charlie would cash it on that paper bag.
Unreal.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed my conversation. I'm looking at the camera now, and I'm letting you know that it's been my very great pleasure. I've known this man, haven't seen him in a while. Morris said, we're going to come sit a spell and talk. And wasn't it a good thing?
I think we
Cecil?
talked so much you didn't have time to say much.
I didn't say much. He's the first man that out-talked me.
He did.
See that?
He did a good job.
Morris, you're not bad yourself.
Hey, it's wasn't my day. I want this.
I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy having you here,
But
sir.
if you go out on the street somewhere, and they said, well, you had old man talked, I talked to you. He said, well, I believe he told me what he knows. He didn't tell me what what, I mean, you know, I get him out of Dairy Queen. This old lady comes in. She said, I heard this. I said, you don't go, but what you heard is what you seen.
See.
Yeah.
Sit still for a minute. Sit still for a minute. We're going to finish up.
Oh,
Let me finish up here, okay? You all right?
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got another guest in the house right now. And interestingly enough, this gentleman has some ties in our town also that we were just sitting here talking about. You just don't know. Matter of fact, be careful what you say because it's so interesting. Morris Stephenson is a good friend. Morris Stephenson is a very special man to me. Sir, I appreciate you, appreciate what you do and your friendship. Cecil, it's good to see you again, and it's good to sit and talk. That is something that we miss these days. It's just sit. Anytime you're in town and you're on Old Furnace Road, you know where that old iron furnace is, you know where I live. You come, bang on the door, and you say, I say, what you doing? And you say, I want to sit and talk for a minute. And you come in and talk.
See, my great friend lived there for years, old man Henry Robinson.
Henry Robinson.
So he'd buy a lumber off of us. He was a great man too, you know.
Well, we enjoy that house. And it's still, I can still, you know, that iron furnace is still standing down there.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the only one left in the state maybe now.
Probably.
Because everything else is just caved in.
Yours is good shape.
It's in good shape.
But me and you probably could go back to old mine style and still live our life again if we had to. I mean,
whatever it took.
I wouldn't want to.
But I mean,
I like it okay now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm okay.
I know, but if you had to go back to the old day, you could go back and live them.
All right, I've got 27 grandchildren and great-grandchildren. I am a rich man.
Oh yeah, yeah. I tell them I don't worry about myself. You know, we're getting up in age, but I worry about the kids today, what they have to go through with. And I look at the little one, I wonder what they will end up. You know.
Yep.
But we can't judge them. But it's up to the old man.
Just it's up to somebody else. Thank
That's
you,
right.
sir. Appreciate you sitting with us a spell this
Yeah.
morning.
Oh yeah.
Morris, as always, thank you.
My
Ladies
pleasure.
and gentlemen, I'm going to take a commercial break. We've got another guest in house, and you will recognize him, but we're going to talk about something completely different. I'm going to tell you, it says goes by DRRC. That'll give you something to think about. I'll be back after these words from our sponsors. Thank you.